Toy Story 4 gets way more online hate than it deserves in my opinion. Yes, there are a few things about it that keep it from being quite as good as the original 3 movies. For example, I wish the supporting cast of Slinky Dog and Ham and Mr. Potato Head and Rex had a lot more to do in the movie. I think the ending could use a couple more minutes to breathe. It feels a little rushed, especially compared to the ending of the 3rd movie, which has so much room to breathe but never drags on in my opinion. But those are little nitpicks, and overall, I think it's a great movie that is gorgeous to look at. It's got great new original music, new memorable original characters, but most of all, adds a new theme or lesson to the franchise, and it doesn't repeat places that the 3rd movies have gone. It manages to add yet another meaningful and original and unique lesson for Woody to learn, just like the original 3 movies. So I'm going to spend this video talking about things I like about Toy Story 4, and number 1 is the theme. I made a whole video about how the 4 Toy Story movies do something amazing, which is have a unique theme in each movie that feels like a natural progression from the last movie, is widely relatable to almost anyone who watches the movie, and is unique from every other movie in the franchise. So in the first movie, Woody learns to share the spotlight with Buzz, to not be so jealous, and to kind of make friends with those who come into your life rather than be jealous of them. In the second one, he learns to reckon with his mortality and kind of accept that he should live in the moment and enjoy Andy while he lasts and not worry about Andy growing up. The screenwriter for Toy Story 3 even said how this was a really hard thing for Toy Story 3 was to figure out another lesson for Woody to learn, but they managed to pull it off. In Toy Story 3, Woody reckons with saying goodbye and the fact that even though you kind of want to be there for someone forever, sometimes you've had the impact that you're going to have on their life, and they'll always carry that with them, and therefore you'll always be with them. While he learns not to worry about saying goodbye in 2, he actually learns how to say goodbye in 3. So what does 4 do that could possibly be unique? Well, 4 takes the idea that Woody and his friends have found a new home and they've got a new start to life, and it challenges that. It says what happens when Bonnie's house actually doesn't work out for Woody. And this is another great theme in the franchise because, in my opinion, it's very relatable. Sometimes you've been dreaming about this job or this relationship or moving to a new city, and when you actually get there and you get that job or you get into that relationship, it doesn't work out. It turns out it's not all that you wanted it to be. Something about it doesn't work, something's not compatible, and then you have to reckon with, like, what do I do now? I thought my whole purpose and my whole goal was to achieve this thing, and it's not working out, so where do I go from here? And that's exactly what Toy Story 4 does. It shows that Bonnie actually didn't work out for Woody. It worked out for the rest of the toys, but for him, he needs to find another purpose. And he realizes that he can actually spend his time with other toys who don't have an owner and help connect them to an owner. He's spending this new chapter of his life helping connect people to meaningful relationships like the one that he had in the first chapter of his life in Toy Story 1, 2, and 3. And I think that's great. I think that's another cool theme, and I like that it's challenging. I think a lot of the reason why people don't like 4 is because they say it ruins the franchise, it ruined the happy ending, but that's kind of the point. I mean, the ending of 4 is still happy, but it challenges you. Like sometimes that thing you thought was a perfect ending actually wasn't, and that's the whole point of the movie. Yeah, like 3 seems like it's perfect, and it brings closure to everyone in the cast, and it brings closure to Woody's feelings with Andy. It's not like 4 is completely undoing that. Woody still lived a fulfilling life with Andy. He learned to say goodbye, etc. It just asks him a new question, just like how in life there's always a new question for us to solve. So I really like the theme. Number 2, the original music. If I was to have one little qualm with Toy Story 3, it's that there wasn't an original Randy Newman song until the very end credits with We Belong Together. But it wasn't in the movie the same way that When Somebody Loved Me was in Toy Story 2, or the same way that You've Got a Friend in Me, Strange Things, and I Will Go Sailing No More was in Toy Story 1. I think all those musical moments from the first 2 movies are so memorable. Jesse's sequence with Emily set to When Somebody Loved Me always brings tears to my eyes. So I was kind of hoping for one in Toy Story 3, although I see why they just repeated You've Got a Friend in Me in the beginning. It was still applicable, and the way they ended after the Our Friendship Will Never Die line to kind of hint at like, well, maybe it will because now Andy's grown up. I thought that was great, but I still would have loved to see another original song in Toy Story 3, and we actually got that in Toy Story 4. We got Randy Newman singing I Can't Let You Throw Yourself Away, which is a great original song, and I like that the song feels widely relatable. We've all had a friend who's kind of like hurting themselves in some way, and we feel like, I can't let you do this to yourself, I'm trying to help you. But it's also funny because in the moment, Forky's literally trying to throw himself away because he literally thinks he's trash. And it gives us like a new classic Toy Story sequence, in my opinion, where Woody's traveling around in the RV trying to protect Forky. It really called back to the original to me, like the Strange Things sequence kind of, only this time it's Woody trying to be caring rather than being jealous because he's grown, of course. So I thought that was a beautiful sequence. Shout out to a new original song in the Toy Story franchise. Number 3, the new characters. I think Bunny and Ducky are great. I think Duke Kaboom is cool. All 3 of them feel fairly unique. Like they're not obviously replicating something that came before the same way that like BB-8 is just replicating R2-D2, for example. They feel fresh. They feel like fresh additions to the franchise. The voice talents feel fresh. And yeah, of course, they're kind of made just to sell more merch, but that's kind of a given with a franchise like this. And hey, some of it's better than others, and I think these were hits. And then, of course, there's Gabby Gabby, which I'm going to call number 4, the villain. I think one thing that's really hard in the Toy Story franchise is having a villain toy who's got a fresh perspective. Both Stinky Pete and Lotso, for example, are kind of similar in that their trauma comes from not being properly loved by a kid, but of course there's a bit of a difference there, where Stinky Pete was never owned by someone and Lotso was, he just got replaced. So when it came to Toy Story 4 and Gabby Gabby, again, never had a kid's love and she was just pining over a kid and was the villain because of that, I was a little iffy about it as I was watching it because it felt repetitive. And like I said, one of the things that I think the movies are great at is not repeating these big themes and motifs. But the twist was that Gabby Gabby was actually redeemable. Like, she was kind of a villain and her henchmen were kind of scary, but it walked this line where you didn't hate her and it made it so that when she was redeemed, you actually felt good about it. So I like that they didn't give her comeuppance where she's like going to go into the garbage or get tortured just like Stinky Pete and Lotso, but she actually got to get found by a kid. And of course, this ties to the theme that Woody has, and it shows how much he's grown because now he's like even helping out his enemies instead of just kind of leaving them to get their comeuppance. In Toy Story 2, Woody is actively putting the prospector into the Barbie bag so that he can live a life of torture. By Toy Story 3, he's matured enough to say Lotso's not even worth it, like let's just move on. And then in Toy Story 4, he's matured so much that he wants to help the person who kind of attacked him and ripped out his own voice box. So I thought that was pretty cool. Number 5, Buzz Lightyear. Now, this is definitely a hot take, and I'm kind of being stubborn putting this one in here because it's not necessarily like my favorite thing, but the whole point of this video is to say nice things about Toy Story 4 in a world where people say a lot of mean things about it. And another thing that people say is that Buzz Lightyear was done totally wrong. I've actually already made a video about this, but I'm going to say it again. I disagree with this. I think they took the exact same idea that's behind Buzz Lightyear saying schmoes because he doesn't know what s'mores are in Toy Story 2, and he doesn't know what Hawaii is in the Toy Story Hawaiian short, and they expanded on that to say he doesn't know what the phrase inner voice means. And it's not that he doesn't actually have like a moral compass or anything, he just doesn't know what that phrase is. He doesn't know what a lot of these kind of colloquialisms are that we have. Because, of course, he thought he was a real space ranger for the longest time, he's had to learn all of this stuff as it goes, and there's still some things that he just hasn't picked up on yet. So when people say that, like, he was made to be an idiot, I think if you actually watch the movie, like, maybe they overplay the joke a little bit, especially when he presses his button while Bonnie's sleeping. Like, he should know that he's going to make noise and Bonnie's asleep right there. But besides that fact, like, he's not being overly stupid in it. He's being very active in trying to find Woody. He's still got all his same competent acrobatic skills that he has, which are a thing I love in the movies. Like, this time when he's like flying through the air, it's super cool. I feel like they're always up-leveling his little stunts, which is nice. And he's not being stupid. Like, he's getting coincidental ideas by pressing his own voice box. But I think, to me, it's clear at some point in the movie that he's just using this as like a new way to get ideas. And it's just kind of like the fun play idea for the movie that a toy is using their own phrases to get ideas about how they can get out of a situation. Like, the voice gives him the idea to close his helmet, to squash Ducky's leg, to get them to stop hitting him in the face. Like the voice is just the thing that gave him the idea, but he's not like acting like an idiot. He's just using it to get those ideas. And at his core, he's competently trying to save Woody just like he did in Toy Story 2, just with the whole voice gimmick, and it's a new way to add phrases too that they can put into other toys, which if you're like me, you love collecting Buzz Lightyear toys, so now there's a new thing to get in them. And every time it matters and he has a conversation with Woody, it's actually still just as meaningful and competent as it's always been, especially at the end when he's the one who suggests, or at least says out loud to Woody, that it's okay for him to leave Bonnie. Like, that is the most mature moment in the movie, that is the climax of the movie. That is our hero making the final decision of the movie, Woody acknowledging this inner turmoil around his lack of purpose and choosing the path where he will have purpose and also reuniting with Bo Peep. Like, Buzz is the instigator of that. And then, of course, we get the beautiful friendship hug between Buzz and Woody at the end, which I think is super heartfelt. I love that Buzz and Woody are continuously like the core best friends of the franchise. I think that's especially true in Toy Story 3, the way that Woody kind of always says goodbye to everyone, but then always has a special goodbye for Buzz. And then here we get the real goodbye, where he's actually leaving the toys, and we do the same thing where he says goodbye to everyone, but we get the one big best friend goodbye for Buzz, which I think is beautiful because their friendship was the start of this whole franchise almost 30 years ago. So yeah, I actually like what they did with Buzz in this. I have no problem with Buzz Lightyear in this movie. To me, Toy Story 4 adds more good Buzz Lightyear content to the Buzz Lightyear content repertoire. So yeah, those are 5 things I liked about Toy Story 4. Let me know if you agree with them or if you disagree with any of them. And stay tuned for more Toy Story videos, Transformers videos, stuff like this. Thanks for watching.